Okay, everyone. How are y'all? It is straight up 12 o'clock. Well, a little bit past 12 o'clock. I'm Ismael Martinez, and welcome to another SWTJC virtual live event. And today we're going to be taking a closer look at the SWTJC Wildlife Management Program. Welcome to everyone who's watching. Where we are broadcasting live on YouTube, Facebook, and also on Twitter. So I will encourage people that if they have any questions for our guests this afternoon, they can send those messages or questions via the comment section. And we will try to get to as many of those questions as possible. If we don't get to your question while we're live on the stream, we will go back and get you those messages shortly thereafter. I'll go through all the messages and make sure that we are, answering all those questions as best as possible. If I don't have the answer, well, I will just make it up. No, I'm just kidding. I'll send it over to the people that know all the information, which is our guests for today. So before we introduce our guests, got some quick announcements that I need to make. So registration for SWTJC summer and fall classes is open. You can register via the student planning tool if you are already a student. If you are going to be a first-time student, you can start that process by going to our SWTJC website, and we will have links there on how you can get started. Or you can, if you've already started that process, you can go and contact your academic advisor via email or phone call. And you can do that as well through the SWTJC website. And we'll try and provide links a little bit later on. But in the meantime, announcements, in-person classes is something that, we made that announcement a little over a month ago with Dr. Gonzalez. So in-person classes return to SWTJC, and that's going to start in the summer. They're going to be at limited capacity. And of course, during the fall as well, we will have limited capacity in-person classes, plus the other modes of instruction, which is remote, virtual, and also online classes as well. So another huge announcement. I say it's huge, but it's a regular announcement. So dorms are opening up this summer. So I know that is something that we've had lots of questions about. Students, parents are asking about dorms and how is all that going to happen. So that's happening for the summer one semester, and then we'll go through summer two, and the fall they will be at limited capacity as well. And we have a whole plan, return to campus plan that has protocols on dorms and in-person classes, and all that's available at our SWTJC website. You can go to the front, to the homepage, and down towards the middle of the page, you see a COVID-19 resource button. You click on that, and you can get just about every piece of information you need for SWTJC regarding COVID-19 and the summer and fall semester. Okay, enough of that. Let's go ahead and introduce our guests. Our guests today, we're going to go ahead and start with the man with the plan, which is what I call him, a man who needs no introduction, Robert Zagelin, who is the Wildlife Management Coordinator at SWTJC. Bob, how are you doing? Is he even on?
Yeah, I'm on. Can you hear
Is
me?
he on? There he is.
I'm doing really good. Can y'all hear me well?
We can hear you, but we can't see you, Bob.
I wonder why. Every time I hit the start video, it says you cannot do it because the host has disabled it.
Oh, let me.
And I'm used to being disabled.
Let me enable your video. You should be able to do it now.
Okay, there we go.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go. That's what I wanted to see. I want to see all those deer heads back there.
There you go.
I'm telling you, I'm going to call the Guinness Book of World Records, and I guarantee you we're going to get you in that thing with, the most deer heads on a wall.
Well, I've been blessed over my hunting career. That goes without saying, but I sure appreciate you hosting this event for us today. We're going to have a good time. We've got some great students itching to give their little verbal piece about the program. And so we're all ready to go.
All right. So there's Bob Zagelin. He is the coordinator. He is the end all be all of the wildlife management program at SWTJC. Moving on to our next guest, Dean Weimers, instructor for wildlife management program. Dean, how are you?
I'm doing well, Gizmo. I
All
appreciate
right.
you and everything, and I'm looking forward to a great time today.
All right. Thanks, Dean. So the next guest for today is fellow instructor, Daniel Tidwell. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having us, Gizmo, and setting this platform up for us.
All right. So we're going to move on to our special guests. These are the ones that we really want to talk to because, I mean, I've talked to Bob, I've talked to Daniel, I've talked to Dean, and that's cool. I like those boys. They're some pretty nice guys, but we want to talk to the stars of today's broadcast, of today's virtual stream, which are the students for the wildlife management program. We start off with Lauren, who is from Helotes, Texas. How are you, Lauren?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk about this amazing program.
All right. So just to give you a little audio tip, if you can turn down your audio just a little bit, that way you don't get that feedback. So you probably have you have the actual broadcast on somewhere. So that's what's happening. So if you can just turn down your volume just a little bit. All right. So next on our list of guests from Eagle Lake, Texas, Mason, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Did I say that right? Is that Mason?
Mason Stomchik, yes, sir.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Mason Stomchik, yes, sir. You said it right.
Okay, yeah. Well, I didn't even want to take a shot at your last name because I didn't want to butcher it up. So trust me, I am very compassionate of people messing up first names because I have that name that, nobody ever get that right. So anyway, so our next guest from Eagle Pass, Chris, how are you?
Sir, they're pretty good. Looking forward to having fun
right.
with you guys. I can pronounce your name though, Ismael.
Yeah, well, usually
Yeah.
people from people that are Hispanic, Latino, whatever you want to call it, they tend to get it right. So next on our list is from Carrizo Springs, Eddie. How are you doing, Eddie?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for joining us. And so these are our guests for today. We're going to talk a little bit or a lot actually about the wildlife management program. I want to start off with Bob. So we're going to get right to it. We're going to start off with Bob, who is, I've always said he is the be all end all of the wildlife management program. It was his, baby, his, project. So Bob, can you just give us a little background and origins of how SWTJC came to start the wildlife management program?
Well, it was a consolidated effort, obviously, but back in 2004, Johnny Guzman and I worked together quite closely after I was hired to develop the program, and spent a year pretty much solid work outlining the program, and it came together, got it certified through the state, outlined various courses that were required, and in 2005 we cranked her up. Small classes obviously initially, but they grew. At one point we had 120 students in the program, which we were proud of, but was a little over the top as far as numbers, handling youngsters goes, and the personal touch that we'd like to give them. But one thing I want to mention is that the infrastructure to our wildlife program is our wildlife advisory board. I've been very blessed to have quite a few friends, various ranchers, people like Jimmy Hasslocker, who owns Frontier Enterprises in San Antonio, all the Mr. Jim restaurants, and Alan Kane, who's the whitetail program leader for the state of Texas, who actually was a former student, intern student of mine years ago when I managed private ranches for Harrison Interest. And basically what I did with the board was I asked all my board members to write down the top 10 things that were important to them in order for a student to be hired. What were 10 characteristics that a student had to exude in order to be attracted to a potential employer? And basically they did that. I took it and created a DACM, which I highlighted the ones that showed up the most, the points that is, and basically came up with an emphasis of how we would like to go, in what direction we'd like to take the program to improve the probabilities of student employment, because that's the key issue. So I'd like to thank my board, our advisory board, yesteryear and present, because they play such a great role. And that's how the program really got started. I've been there, I guess this is the 17th year, 16th year, whatever, still going well. And we're really blessed to have some great students. We've had them from Kansas to Africa and all over Texas that have attended our program and have succeeded. And so we're real proud of it, obviously, and I'm proud to have Daniel and Dean on board now. They excel as instructors, and it's a family affair. And all we have to say about our program is to sum up our program in one sentence, it's taking common sense to a higher level. And that's it, Giz. That's how I would address the program.
All right, Bob, thanks. Appreciate that answer. So I want to move on to classes. And so, or actually just the program itself and how long the program is, because someone might think, is this a 6 month to 12 months, 2 years? So I'm going to throw this one to Dean. And if you can answer that question, is what length is the program, and how many, I guess, contact hours are students having to participate in?
Yeah, Gizmo, thanks. I appreciate that. So our program is it's a two-year program. We are obviously a junior college, and so it comprises of 60 hours. And once students graduate, they receive a Associates of Applied Science in Wildlife Management. We are the only two-year wildlife program in the state, so that's really unique. And I'm very blessed to be here to have an opportunity to work with students. And what we also have as well is for students that, might not think that college is their thing, where they just want to get some, a good introduction to wildlife management. We also have a 1-year wildlife certificate. So that is just 2 semesters, a fall and spring semester, where students can enroll, take some wildlife classes, and then get just some good general knowledge. And that has worked very well for some students. We always like to see students go ahead and continue on to their associates, but sometimes that doesn't happen, and we understand. And so our classes are very hands-on. Obviously, they are academic, but we have a lot of classroom that is outside the building.
So and so that actually takes me to the next question, and I'll ask the question to Daniel as an instructor. So what are some of the classes that are being taken? I mean, the actual course names and what is being taught in the classroom.
So whenever a student comes in the fall, we're going to have plant ID or wildlife identification. And we'll also have some other courses in their second year, wildlife techniques, where they're really in the field intensive. And in both of those courses, every week we're going out to the field, talking to private landowners, ranch managers, seeing how private land is ran and managed for wildlife. And so it's a really great time for students to gain that experience. And if you're timid as somebody coming out of high school, you don't know if college is really your thing, we can really enhance that experience, get you out in the field. It's a different experience to college. It kind of eases you into it. And that hands-on learning really takes you to the next level. It's really easy for you to learn. But
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
So wildlife ID is going to be the main one in the fall. And then some of our experiences that we have in the fall as well. The first 2 weeks that you're with us, we're going to put you on deer. And so you're going to be working with some local landowners around here where we're cutting antlers out of a pen, cutting antlers off a deer off of a deer breeding operation. And then we also have a couple of deer captures that we do as well in the fall.
So you mentioned plant ID. So obviously when people hear the title of wildlife management, they don't, at least I didn't the first time I heard of y'all having to deal with vegetation and plants and whatever. So what is the purpose of learning about the actual plant life?
So plant identification is really the foundation of wildlife management. You really can't manage whitetail deer, turkey, quail, anything that we deal with until you know and understand what they eat or their diet. You know, you want to have the healthiest herd managed holistically that you possibly can, and that all starts with plants. And so, having that foundation your first semester in really helps you throughout your entire career in wildlife, no matter where you go.
You mentioned antler cutting. So it's pretty self-explanatory when you say antler cutting. So I want to talk to one of the students who, and I guess all the students that are on our panel this morning or this afternoon have experienced this, but specifically Eddie, I want you to talk about what your experiences were with cutting antlers, and if you can just kind of very briefly summarize that process.
Yes, sir. Well, when we cut antlers, we run them through chutes and alleyways, all in a safe way so the deer ain't harmed. And when we run them in this chute, once we get him there, we'll blindfold his eyes so he don't stress. And there's cable saw. And what the cable saw, what we could do is we'll cut abnormal points that are at the bases just to give us a clear cut view. And then we'll use a saw to cut them off. And after that, we'll release them back in the pens. And the reason we do that is so they don't get hurt when they're all together.
So I want to go ahead and share a photo of how it actually works. And I was going to try and get the video, but it was just too big of a. So I guess any one of you guys instructors, if you can kind of just tell us what's going on in this photo. Because I see
Lauren,
a student here,
Yeah. So Lauren is on the left, blindfolding the deer, making sure that his eyes is covered so he has less stress. We have a couple of handlers holding the antlers, making sure that the animal's restrained. And there's actually a burr point coming off the front of the left main beam of that deer. And in order for us to get our fabricated saw in to saw that antler, we have to cut that point off. And so I believe one of our students, I believe that's Paloma on the right, she's actually going in with a cable saw, cutting that abnormal point off at the base, which will allow that fabricated saw to move forward and cut that main beam.
So of course, this is just one of the activities that students are doing while they're in the wildlife management program. And there's more of this that happens throughout so is this happens in the fall or the summer? I mean, the fall or the spring?
So Gizmo, it happens in the fall, and it's actually just the first few weeks of class. So freshmen have a wonderful opportunity to get, so to speak, get their hands dirty right away. And it's 4 nights. And we get there around 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening, and sometimes we'll work the deer till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. So we work several hundred deer over those 4 days, and so it's a lot of fun. And Daniel and I really enjoy it, and the students love it as well.
So I guess it's not a typical traditional class where you're in a classroom from 8 to 12, and then from 1 to 5 you're at labs, as they call it, or whatnot. So it could be an all-day thing, where y'all are out on different ranches and doing a lot of this work. So yeah, I mean, so if that's your cup of tea, this is your program. So I want to talk about the type of classes, and I'm gonna ask this of Bob. Bob, so I see the term on my notes here, hands-on. So what exactly are you, what are you trying to say when it's a hands-on type of class?
Yeah, well, what we're trying to apply there is the fact that they get to experience, they get to feel, touch, smell, everything that has to do with the animals we're working with, whether it be turkeys or deer, quail, what have you. They're going to be touching them. They're going to be handling them. And also, it's more user friendly when you could go out and learn how to remove antlers from a deer in one example, appropriately and properly, by watching professionals who then allow you as a student to participate. Because if you study that, you could study that all week long in a textbook, but until you perform that particular task, you really don't experience what it's all about, and you don't feel or see all the idiosyncrasies that surround that technique that we employ. Just like the vegetation ID that Daniel teaches in the fall. They'll go out and they have to identify 100 different brush species by the time they finish that 16-week semester. That's quite a bit of brush to identify a great variety of species. So they got to stay on top of their game, but they get to see the plant all the time. And we base everything, at least on that course, we use redundancy as a very important item because they keep seeing some of the same ones each week and getting new ones as they go. And so it's not like looking in a book and looking at the color of a beautiful flower and identifying a plant based on its flower. It's actually looking at the plant, touching it, feeling it, finding out, like in some instances in South Texas, there's a few plants like kidneywood or coyoteal that have no thorns. That's a rare thing in South Texas because everything in South Texas sticks, pricks, stings, or bites. And so basically they learn those attributes, and they also learn things like not only how to identify particular plants, but they then are schooled in recognizing which ones are highly preferred by the wildlife species that they're managing. All this, as the word Daniel brought up earlier, holistically applies to how we manage an ecosystem. Because anytime they manage something, say a deer herd, they're managing the quail, they're impacting the everything from the black-capped vireo to the golden cheek warbler to the cowbird. So it's hands-on. They're getting to touch it, yes, and they're getting their hands dirty.
So, after looking through the notes and I did the research for the wildlife management program just to do the virtual live stream. So it seems like it's a pretty cool program if you are, outdoorsy, if you're an outdoors type person. I mean, because that's where you're going to spend a lot of the time. So I want to go on to the next, one of the other activities that the students perform. And I'm going to talk to Lauren about this. I want Lauren to give us some information about a prescribed burn. So can you give us a brief summary of what exactly is a prescribed burn?
Yes, sir. So I got the privilege of going on only one prescribed burn. We go out and we take torches and we burn a field, basically, to, I don't know, what would you say?
To reduce competition.
To reduce competition. And you get to see the forbs grow back up after you do the burn. It's a really cool experience.
Yeah, so I'm showing a picture of what a prescribed burn looks like from a photo, standpoint anyway. I also see that. So, I mean, how can one of the instructors, can y'all kind of just give us some information about a prescribed burn? Because it seems pretty dangerous to me, I mean, I've always been taught, like, hey, if it's dry and it's kind of windy out there, the last thing you want to be doing is, starting a fire. So can anyone?
If I might add, when we're conducting a prescribed fire, basically we're conducting a burn with particularly designed or under conditions that must be met by our plan. It's a planned fire. It's not that we just go out and start lighting, throwing matches. No, that's not the case. Basically, it's well planned so that the humidity is appropriate. The wind speed is controlled. We monitor the wind speed, the humidity, the temperature. All those play a role to the prescription It's almost like when you get a prescription of medication, same thing with a burn. It does certain things and we expect it to do certain things. And so it's a safe way of, and the most inexpensive way of managing habitat that we know of. Yes, it can be dangerous, but our staff, Dean and Daniel, work with the students very well on educating them how to perform those tasks. Daniel actually was trained by myself as a student at SWTJC because he was one of our students years ago. So prescribed fire can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, but that's why we're all here, to learn how to do it appropriately under a prescribed condition, in a confined area, whether it be a brush or a field, but normally we're burning back brush. So we knock back the plant's successional stage so that when it comes back, not only the forbs, but the brush itself, when it's coming back in a higher nutritional stage of development that's highly preferred by the animals that we target.
So, so we've covered a prescribed burn, and we've talked about the antler cutting. So one of the other, I think, that I wanted to focus on was the deer captures, which, I'm going to go ahead and talk to Mason about this because she seems like she enjoys deer captures, or at least that's what I have in my notes. So I might be completely wrong, but Mason, can you kind of give us also a brief description of what happens during a deer capture and why y'all are capturing this deer?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I love deer captures. I love going on deer captures. We went to the 501 this last year and the Byler Ranch to do deer captures. We go in with a helicopter. The helicopter flies over the ranch to find bigger bucks, you could say, in the pasture to put into a pen with, you can only have 10 does in there. So they could breed, and it helps your genetics on the ranch for bigger bucks, pretty much. You go in with the helicopter and they have a net gun that shoots, well, it doesn't shoot them, it shoots the net and it captures them. They'll go in and tie their feet and they'll bring us the deer. If it is a buck, we'll saw their antlers off because they are going into a pen if they want them off with other does, just so it's safe. So in the pictures, we have blindfolds on. We try not to stress them too much. If they need medication, we give them medication while they're on the ground and we have them in our hands. It's real fun. You get in there, you get dirty. It's you have to hold on. You could not be scared. It's a lot of fun though. You get in there and it just, you work with the deer. It's amazing.
Right.
A really good hands-on experience.
So Daniel, if you can kind of give us a little more on what y'all are trying to teach when y'all are doing the deer captures.
Yeah, so obviously we're trying to teach a technique, let the students know that is a possibility if they go on and start consulting on their own. But it does a lot of different things. It allows students to work together, communicate together, to have a common task done. And you can see whenever, you see them in the group pictures, they're all smiling, they're having fun. It's great camaraderie, and from a professor standpoint, Dean and I and Bob, it's really awesome to be able to see these kids go out in the field and enjoy what they're doing. They enjoy learning.
Right.
And and then Mason did a pretty good job at explaining the technique. It's a technique that Texas Parks and Wildlife allows landowners to use. It's called DMP, Deer Management Pens or Program. And it allows the landowner to capture a large buck and try to express its genetics by allowing does to breed that buck in a controlled setting. But I think overall it's a great technique that allows students to get hands-on and work and communicate together, because it takes a lot of communication for their safety and as well as the animal safety. But it's, overall it's in a very controlled setting.
So does this happen in the first semester or the second semester?
It's going to happen in their first semester. So typically we always have two. This upcoming fall, we may have three. And then typically also from other colleges, our students will get invited to participate in other colleges' deer captures as well.
Okay. So, I appreciate that information. And it certainly clears up a lot of the questions I had. I'm sure it's doing the same for our viewers. And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about is, I actually want to talk to Chris because I see him there and, he's bored. I know that he's just, dying to get on, the camera and get all those girls looking at him. And, hopefully they start commenting on his videos. So Chris, in your background, when I read, you are already working on a ranch. So were you working on a ranch before you started this program?
No, actually, the opportunity was given to me by the professors and Mr. Bob. Without them, I don't think I ever would have found this opportunity. I've been working out at the Broken Bow Ranch in Eagle Pass, Texas, for the past year and a half, close to 2 years already. I grew up in Eagle Pass, and I never even knew that there was this many landowners in the area, in Eagle Pass, Uvalde, Bracketville, Carrizo, and all that. I didn't know there was that much, hunting operations. That there really is an impact of around us to what is actually going on in the hunting operations. But yeah, I started working out there with Mr. Wiseman. He's been a really good help. He's the type to show you, how to work on a tractor or how to work on the dozer, how to fix, if you broke something, how you fix that one thing. So it's happened to me a couple of times of breaking something, and I've been lucky enough that Mr. Wiseman gives me the chance to not just, he doesn't just scold me, but he's just like, okay, now you got to fix it. You broke it, and I'll fix it. So I think that's a really good way to learn.
So have you already been able to apply some of the things that you've learned in the wildlife management program in your daily work there at the ranch?
Yes, sir. Well, actually, this past year, my freshman year, we started DMP as well. We did a DMP. We had a deer capture and everything. Everybody came out, but the real work happened when I guess they started fawning in the summer. So in the summers, I'd take a 2-hour walk in the mornings and just check if we had fawns, if there was anything that was birthing, or if anything, get a tag on them if we needed to, or just making sure that they were alive. Other than that, just working on the tractors. In one of our classes, we learned mechanical treatments, so I've already started to disc here and there and little things like that, and just making sure everything's feeders are filled, that they have water. And
right.
Yeah. So I really, I'm just taking notes right now, so that I can use this and take it over to the future.
So I want to talk to some of the other students. Eddie, I believe you're also on an internship as well, aren't you?
Yes, sir. I sure was. I was at the Martin Ranch in Bracketville. I mean, it's a big ranch, so it's in Bracketville and in Spofford. It's 10,500 acres, and I had the privilege to guide hunters, work deer, and manage their deer. I mean, we ran deer cameras as a camera survey. We had 22 deer cameras. We ran a lot of feeders, protein feeders, a nonstop deal. But yes.
Were you able to get this internship there at the ranch through the wildlife management program?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I sure was.
So, and I want to talk to Bob. And Bob, I know that networking and internships obviously is a big part of the program. So, can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, networking is, as you well know, is the more people these youngsters get to meet, particularly potential employers, the greater probability they'll have at getting jobs later. At least if they have questions about certain things, they could come back and talk to some of these other managers. And fortunately for me, a lot of these folks I already work with, and they're friends of mine. And so they're going to pick our students over others simply because they know that what we're delivering, what Dean and Daniel deliver them as far as academics goes, is their and on-hand experience. They know that these youngsters have some good qualities afford them. But that networking, as we go on these field trips, these students get to meet a lot of folks. And as well as anyone, the more people you know in the profession, the greater chance you have at making friendships and being able to communicate with people. It also allows them to exercise their communication skills, which without good communication skills, they're kind of dead in the water. So they have to exercise their ability to talk to folks, particularly people above them that are potential employers. So it's again, a holistic approach to how to maybe get a job down the road. And it has worked out very well so far.
So Dean, do y'all have a number of students that have gone through your class or program and are now working for, some of the partnerships that the wildlife program has with the different ranchers or just different outfits and whatnot?
Gizmo, I don't have an official number, and that's something that I do need to work on.
And I guess I'm not asking for a specific number. More, I was asking so it does happen, where a lot of your students are going into employment with some of the partners that the college wildlife program has, correct?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely, and so the students have a great opportunity once they wrap up to acquire a position once they complete their associates, and as Bob has stated, he works with a lot of landowners and also knows through his networking the possibility of other jobs that are available. And so students usually reach out to us, and we're constantly working with students when they wrap up to help them acquire positions, either just recently graduated or into the future as well, several years after they graduated. And so we have, different positions such as a ranch manager. We've had some students that go on and get their bachelor's degree, and we have a few as a game warden. And so there are a lot of opportunities, and through the connections that Bob has established here over the past several years, we have an opportunity to lead students to a potential position. And that also translates into internships while the students are here enrolled. We have numerous internships. You have over 20 students right now with an internship. We actually have more internships that are available that we cannot get filled. And so they're students that come to the program have a really great opportunity to obviously, make some money, but as well get some hands-on, really valuable experience that they can use in the future.
So I want to talk to some of the students just because we're running out of time here. And so I just want to make sure and get to most of the topics that we had agreed to discussing. So I want to talk to Lauren. She is from Helotes. So how is it that somebody from Helotes makes their way down to our little town of Uvalde, Texas? And so how did you get to hear about the wildlife management program? Or, but I, if I'm not mistaken, you're also doing rodeo. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So
I heard about the program. I'm sorry?
Was it the rodeo that brought you here first and then?
No, sir.
Okay.
While I was in high school, I had a couple friends that were in the wildlife program, and they were very good students in it. And they would show me things like them doing antler cuttings and deer captures. And I was so fascinated with that. And then I researched at school, and I saw that they had a very good rodeo program as well. And I decided that that's the school that I definitely wanted to go to.
So what are your plans? Are you planning to get an associate's or just your certificate?
I came here planning to stay here for a year, but I ended up being very passionate in the wildlife program. So I'm going to stay the 2 years and get my associate's degree.
Good for you. So what are your plans after SWTJC?
I would love to work on a ranch. I really want to guide whitetail and exotics. So hopefully I'll get the opportunity to do that.
So Mason, let me ask you almost the same questions. You're from Eagle Lake, which if someone doesn't know where Eagle Lake is, it is around the Houston area, which is farther than Helotes. And how is it that you heard about the SWTJC program?
I heard about it from people that have been in the program. I didn't really have anybody come to me and say like, you should do this. And, you know, this is where I ended up. I knew I wanted to go into wildlife. I worked on a ranch in high school with only exotics, and I love it. I have a passion for it. I don't want to do anything else. And so I did my research, and this Southwest Texas Junior College, the wildlife program, was almost all that I saw. So that was an eye catcher. So I came, and I wouldn't go anywhere else. I tell everybody, if you could come here, come, because it's not even, it's school. We learn so much, but so many people tell me, you're not even in school, you're having fun. And that's what I like. Cause I'm not a person who sits in school and does like, I don't like school. I say school's not for me, but here I love it. You have so many people down here that help you, and whatever you need, you get. And so I love it. I found home.
What are your plans when it comes after SWTJC? Are you doing your degree, your associate's degree, or are you just doing the certificate?
Yes, sir. I'm doing my associate's degree. After school, I have a couple ideas. I haven't fully set on what I'm doing, and I have a couple jobs that I'm thinking about on ranches to do with wildlife. And so I haven't completely set stone on a job, but I have multiple opportunities.
So Eddie, same questions to you, man. So how did you get to hear about the SWTJC Wildlife Management Program?
Yes, sir. I heard about the SWTJC program through fellow classmates above me, and also because Mr. Bob Zaglin, where I'm from, Carrizo Springs, South Texas. Mr. Bob Zaglin's been a wildlife biologist for a lot of ranches that I know of and that I've been part of since I was little bitty. And I love wildlife so much. And being that SWTJC is just an hour away from home, it's close. It's a good college. Hands-on your first year. I love it. The teachers there, professors, they're the best. I really like it.
So what are your plans as far as after SWTJC? Are you also going for your associates?
Yes, sir. I'm going to go for my associates. And after associates, I'm thinking of going to Kingsville to get my bachelor's. But I'm also thinking of Alpine.
Oh, okay. So Chris, I want to talk to you the same thing. I mean, how long have you been with the SWTJC Wildlife Program, and what are your plans as far as after the program?
So I'm hopefully getting my Associates of Applied Science here in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks I think we have left. I hope to get that, graduate with that, and I want to move on to Angelo State University to get my bachelor's in natural resource management, which is the same thing. It just adds, I guess, a little different aspects of natural resources. I'd like to also mention, thanks to Mr. Bob Zaglin, I got a scholarship through the wildlife program, through Mr. Bob Zaglin introducing me to the Alamo board, SCI, Safari Club International. And I applied, and they graciously gave me a $1,000 scholarship to be able to continue my education in San Angelo.
So that's it's like, man, we're on the same wavelength, because that was actually my next question about scholarships. I know there are some scholarships available. So Bob, can you talk about the Locke and Zaglin Wildlife Scholarship?
Well, the Locke and Zaglin Scholarship has been around, I don't know, maybe 12, 13 years. And that was something that Mr. John Locke, who's on my advisory board and who I have consulted with on his ranch for quite a few years, called the Arenosa Ranch near Brackettville, just 10 miles east of Brackettville, by the way. And John and I decided it was a funny thing. He just said he thinks I'm making too much money. So on him. So he said, well, why don't we just pool that money and we start a scholarship together. And I said, you got it. And that's really how that baby started. And we award this year, I think we awarded like 2,000. I don't know, Dean and Daniel could correct me if I'm wrong, but we're giving about 2,000 a year minimally. Sometimes we'll give one student 2,000. It depends on the student, but a lot of them we give 500 a piece. Eddie got one from us this year, and as did several others. But the hallmark of our scholarship, the Locke Zeglin Scholarship, is it's not for someone that's a straight A student. You don't have to be a straight A student, in my opinion, to be awarded our scholarship. But you got to have the drive and the heartfelt desire to succeed in wildlife management. And if you're applying yourself, I don't care if you're making B's or C's, if you're applying yourself and I could see that you're learning, boy, you are a scholarship recipient. And that's the way I looked at everything through my whole life. So it's been a very rewarding thing, and we've got a substantial amount of money built up. We also have members that contribute to our scholarship. It's just not just John and myself. Mr. Jim Morman, who we unfortunately lost this year, he was one of my first board members on the program. He passed away about a year ago, not a year ago, not even 3 or 4 months ago, actually. A very close friend. But we have other people like Freddie Longoria has contributed, as has Mr. Jimmy Haslocker. So we have a lot of people now contributing because they're seeing the rewards, the fruits of success from helping these youngsters out.
So how can a student, if interested, apply for these scholarships?
You know, that's a good question. On the SCI, a friend of mine serves is the executive director. So he actually came in and requested that, man, Bob, you ought to have some of your students apply. So they actually had to apply. On the Locke Zeglin Scholarship, it's usually something that I rely on Dean and Daniel quite a bit on every aspect, but sometimes I might see someone on a deer capture and I see them really working hard, just outdoing everybody else and really accomplishing something, doing it safely and efficiently. Those I really, they're not going to have to apply for a scholarship because they'll get one. And that's how pretty much I've done it. I've had also other students come into my office and ask me or tell me they're having financial burdens, which we all have financial burdens from throughout our lifetime. And so if they're a good, hardworking young man or young lady and they've got a financial problem, I usually have ways of taking care of that through the Locke Zeglin Scholarship. So it's been a godsend for us. I hope it's helped a lot of our students out in the past, and it will do in the future.
So moving on to the next topic, I want to talk about the tuition costs because we were talking about the scholarship. So moving on to the tuition cost, Dean, I'm sorry, if you can talk a little bit about the tuition cost.
Sure, Gizmo. So our tuition is relatively inexpensive compared to other colleges or our universities. And so if a student, let's say, for example, is taking about 15 hours and they which includes room and board and meals, it runs about $4,500 or so a semester. And so if we have students that are out of state or out of country, actually have one student right now that is from Mexico, this tuition is going to be a little bit more. It'll probably be about $6,000 to $6,500 a semester. But when you compare that tuition to other, like a four-year university, it's the amount of the amount of knowledge that you acquire here and hands-on is really, really valuable. And you know, one thing that I've really heard the students talk about is their opportunity to be involved outside the classroom. And really, you don't see that at other colleges, or especially the freshman and sophomore year. They are in the classroom the whole time. They never get to go out and do fun stuff or be involved in different activities. They're just taking basic courses. And so how the Bob developed the program gives the students a really great opportunity to be involved outside the classroom with numerous activities.
So what are some of the other expenses that students will have if they take the wildlife program, as far as books, supplies, that sort of thing?
Okay, well, as far as from books aspect from the wildlife courses, we do not require any students to buy books for the wildlife classes. Daniel and I have developed PowerPoints that we post on this platform called Canvas, where the students can access those PowerPoints and review them and use them to study. And then obviously they can have those for future reference. And so as far as books, that's not really going to be an issue. You might have to buy a couple of texts or lab manuals for example, zoology or botany courses they have to take, or perhaps like algebra, college algebra. So there may be a small expense there, but for wildlife, there's no requirement for books.
So just real quick, Daniel, so what are some of the things that students should have as a wildlife management program, like boots? You know, what kind of boots? I mean, obviously y'all are not walking in there with sandals and flip-flops and whatever. So just very quickly, because we're running out of time. So I just want to get all this stuff out.
All right. So yeah, if you want a quick life lesson, go to South Texas in a pair of flip-flops and shorts. But
yeah.
No, you need a decent pair of boots, probably a pair of snake boots. Some other things that we like to see students have journals. We actually give a student a letter grade. Yeah, I could see Mason smiling. We'll actually give students a letter grade if they keep a journal, if they keep a log of what they do throughout the semester. It does a handful of things that we like to see. One of the big things in wildlife is record keeping. And so having that advantage of gaining that practice of learning how to keep records, you know, keeping names. Who did you meet? What landowners did you meet? You know, if you end up planting notes, what was the timing of planting? Where'd you get the seed? There's a lot of different things that you can use to journal, and a lot of really good uses for it. And also a camera. It doesn't have to be an expensive camera. Just a little point and shoot, something that can help you document a lot of the experiences that we have here. You're going to be able to look back and show maybe your future kids the experience that you had in college, because there's a lot of things that we do that are really special, but it'll also help you develop to where you can eventually advertise and do a lot of things for your future profession.
All right. Thank y'all guys. We're pretty much getting up on 1 o'clock, so we have to just, you know, cut it short because, you know, we're only on for about an hour. Thank you guys for, you know, taking your lunch hour with us, and also thank the people that are viewers. We didn't get to any questions because there weren't any questions that weren't answered by other people. So, but we had a lot of very positive comments on the program in our comment section. So that's always a good sign. You guys are obviously doing something right, because anybody that goes through your program is always very, you know, giving you guys compliments, the instructors, and just from what I know of you three guys, y'all guys are pretty good dudes. You know, I'd hang out with you guys any day, except on Fridays, because Bob, he's a wild man. You know, I ain't doing anything with Bob on Friday. He gets pretty crazy out there. So guys, thank you very much. I want to thank all our guests, Bob, Dean, Daniel, Lauren, Mason, Chris, and Eddie. Thanks for hanging out with me for an hour and talking to us about the wildlife management program. Quick announcements: registration is open for SWTJC summer and fall semesters. You can contact your advisors Also, one more thing I forgot to mention: you can schedule a visit to the wildlife management program. Who can they talk to about that?
Daniel or myself, just give us a call, reach out to us, and we'll be happy to schedule a meeting with you and the family.
And you can find their information on the SWTJC directory. Just type in Dean or Daniel. Bob, we're not even going to mention Bob because we have to get, rights from his agent to be able to contact him and all that. And it just gets crazy, all the lawyers that need to get involved.
Keep it going, Giz. You're
All
doing
right.
good.
Guys, I appreciate it. It was a pleasure. It was definitely very informative. I hope you guys have a great day and the rest of the week. We'll see you guys here pretty soon because I'm going back to campus. I get to leave this place now. Go back to campus on Monday. So I'll be sure to hang out with you guys. So I appreciate it one more time. Thank you very much. And y'all guys have yourself a very safe and happy end of Thursday.
And you,
All right.
thank you very much, Giz. We appreciate